Hey everybody, Tanya from Shooting Star SVG back, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to size your digital products. So if this is your first time here, go ahead and click on like and subscribe below, as that does keep me motivated to continue making these videos so that way you can grow your business and change your life. Now, I had previously created a video about a year ago on digital print aspect ratios, and you can watch that up above, but I figured I would give you guys an updated video that kind of has all of the questions streamlined into one video, so it's just a really easy thing for you guys to check out. So yeah, that's really all there is to it. But before I get started, if you guys haven't already, and you're looking to join a community of like-minded individuals trying to grow their semi-passive income with digital downloads, go and head on over to the Facebook group, and that link is in the description box below. So what I'm going to do first is just explain a little bit of a background here. So when I first created this video, I was very focused on like very textual based designs. And so we've had some questions coming through on how do you handle this with full-blown photos. And so I'm going to walk you through that. I'm going to walk you through in Canva how I do it with Canva Pro. And I'm also going to walk you through how I do it in Inkscape as well with just a basic design. And you can apply those same things on your computer to your designs while you're setting up shop. And I'm also going to show you an example of how an Etsy store does this successfully, utilizing their descriptions and some tips and tricks on how you can handle that to eliminate some of the customer service that you may have to deal with things of this nature. I will say that I've done a ton of research on this. You know, this digital print aspect ratio, which I'll show you guys in a second, has been really successful. I mean, it's something that I provide to y'all for free because it's information that you could just get yourself, right? But you can get it in all one very concise space. And I went through extensive resources on, you know, Vistaprint, Office Depot, CVS, Staples, Walgreens, typical printing places that you would see to determine what the most common print ratios are, so that way you guys have that available at your fingertips. But really the key to everything is you want to start big, and then that way the customer has the ability to get everything to a smaller size. The larger size file you have, you know, they can shrink that down and the print quality is still going to stay the same, if not get better. Now, one issue that does come along with this is you get really large file sizes, especially depending on the level of detail that you have in your particular file. Because of the 20 meg limit on Etsy, this creates a lot of issues for people who are trying to sell digitally. So I always encourage to not just focus on Etsy as a marketplace, but maybe consider selling somewhere else on like Shopify, for example, because you don't have those same restraints as far as file size goes. However, I do recommend Dropbox over Google Drive, and I have some videos on that I will post up above so you guys can check out. And you can utilize Dropbox or Google Drive to kind of get around that 20 meg limit. Okay, with all that being said, I'm going to go over to my computer screen and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So you can see here, this is the digital prints aspect ratio that I was just talking about. I do have that open here on my computer, and you can see that I have everything kind of color-coded here. You'll notice that there are 5 different ratios. Really, we're just going to be focused on the 4 right here. And the reason why I say that is because the 1-to-1 is obviously a square, and not a lot of people are utilizing that square format. However, if you are, you really only need to focus on the square because it is a 1-to-1. You can see here that you have your sizes in inches, you have your size in centimeters, and then you have different dots per inch here, which equates to how your printer will look at this, as well as the ratio, okay? And really what you want to focus on, again, is these bigger sizes here at the bottom. When you create these bigger sizes, you're able to scale down to these smaller sizes. So what I recommend for everybody who is selling on Etsy is you start with the biggest size, you provide that information to your customer and say, hey, I provided you a 2-to-3 ratio. You're going to get one file. It is 24 by 36, and you can size that all the way down to 4 by 6 if you so wish. And that is the easiest way to handle it. So you're not creating a ton of files for your customer to have to download, which can sometimes be a huge pain in the butt. Okay? So really, we're just focused on 4 ratios. The 11 by 14 is kind of an oddball. Now, to take it one step further, I've also included the isometric sizes, which is something that's normally used over the pond. I'm located in the United States, so I usually don't use the international paper sizing. However, if you want to appeal to a large group of people, you're going to want to include this in here. I will say that the most common ratio is the alpha 4, and you can go ahead and explain to your customer that they can size that all the way down to an alpha 6. If you so wish, you can size it at an alpha 0, but it's a pretty large file, so I don't necessarily recommend that. I see most people providing alpha 3 and saying you can scale down to the alpha 6 if you so wish. Okay, so there's two different things that we want to discuss when we're talking about digital aspect ratio sizing, and there's two really different types, right? You can have your basic text base or design base that has a lot of white space around it, or you can have full page images. The first thing I would like to cover is the basic text base with a good amount of white space around it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to head to Canva and you'll see how I process these. Now, I do have a specific video on YouTube on how you can process this in Canva with Canva Pro, and also show you how you can do this utilizing the free version of Canva. For me personally, it's worth the $12 a month to do the resizing in Canva, only because they really just make it easy. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. But you can also check this video up above, so that way I'm not bogging this one down. So right now I have a 24 by 36 inch poster open on Canva, and you can see that I have this very simple design here on the sheet. Now, if you want to provide it in these additional ratios, because right now I have 24 by 36, so 18 by 24, 16 by 20, 11 by 14, you would just click on the resize, and then you would type in the sizes, okay? So in this case, I would want to go 18 by 24, and then 16 by 20, and then 11 by 14, okay? And you can see that I already have my recent right here. So that's the nice thing too about Canva, is they'll save that. So then when you're working in templates, you can just go ahead and click that. You don't have to type it in every time. Go ahead and click on copy and resize, and Canva's going to do its thing, okay? Now what you'll notice is they will try to resize this to the best of its ability. Now you can go ahead and resize this so it's less white space if you so wish, but all these look pretty good, so I'm not going to bother going through that right now, okay? So it goes ahead and does that automatically for you on different sizes. So you can go ahead and download those. And they do suggest a PNG, but for the purposes of this, you know, a lot of people will sell in JPEG. But I always recommend PDF print, okay? PDF to print, because that is a vector-based file and it's going to give you the highest quality. If you need to convert from JPEG from there, go ahead. But I always recommend the PDF because it is a much higher quality than a JPEG. So print PDF, very important, okay? So you can go ahead and download that. For the purposes of this, I'm going to go ahead and close out of the basic ones and just leave this one up for now. So you can actually do the same thing in Inkscape. And so I have a very similar design set up. And this one is an 18 by 24, okay? So obviously I'm missing the other three sizes. Inkscape is a free to use tool for those of you who don't know. So what I do here is I create different artboard sizes that I will pull off of. So you can see here I have 11 by 14, 16 by 20, 18 by 24, and 24 by 36, okay? I will go ahead and open these blank whiteboards. And what I will do is I will copy this from one, I will go to the next, and I will paste it in, and then I will resize it and align it to the page, okay? And I will go through that, and I will do that for each ratio, and I'll just go ahead and do that for the sake of this, okay? And I forgot to lock my aspect ratio. There we go. That way I'm not distorting it. And I will center everything until I'm happy, and then I will go ahead and save it from there, okay? So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's kind of a more painful process than Canva, but you get where I'm going with this, right? So you just go ahead and do that, and then you save your files how you need to see fit. Now, Inkscape will handle saving as JPEG and PNG, and I have a video that I will post up above on how to export as a JPEG. It's a more recent feature in Inkscape, so they didn't have it for a long time. they've kind of buried it. Again, JPEG isn't the best file format to be utilizing. However, a lot of people are using that for the purposes of this. So that is how you go ahead and edit in Inkscape. I'm going to go ahead and close these out for the purposes of this because we are virtually done with the Inkscape action of this, okay, for the basic text base, okay? So, all right, we've gone through this in Canva. So the next piece of what we're going to do is we are going to look at how this applies to a full-blown photo, okay? So I have purchased a photo off of my Plus membership from Design Bundles for the purposes of this example, which is a great platform to sell on if you're looking for somewhere else to sell. And I will include a link in the description box on how you can also apply to be a seller on Design Bundles if you so wish, or you can reach out to me in the Facebook group about that. But getting to the point, photographs are a little bit more difficult, especially if they're full page, because if you start resizing things, then it becomes an issue. Now, from my understanding, most cameras will shoot in a 2:3 ratio. And so for the purposes of this, I'm going to start with a 2:3 ratio photo and show you what it looks like scaled down. Okay. So I have Canva opened up and this is the photograph, which is in the 2:3 format. Okay. Now you would go through the same process by clicking on Resize. Now this is a 36:24. So we're going to go ahead and do 24:18. And then we're going to do 14:11. And then we're going to do 20:16. And I'm going to show you what happens when you do this because you will click on copy and resize. So here's the original photo. And we went ahead and copied through. Do you see what I'm seeing? It is cutting off portions of the photo. So you have a few options here, okay? First option would be to create a new canvas and insert your picture and create a mat or a border around it so that you can get a larger print ratio, okay? The second option is to just sell your photographs at the largest size that you have in the 2:3 ratio or whatever ratio it is, and explain to your customers that you can provide another size. However, you have to do one of two things: provide the mat or border around the image or crop off certain sections of the photo, okay? For the most part, when people are buying photography, they're just going to stick to the typical size ratios, which is the 2:3. And so for the purposes of this, you will want to provide the 2:3 ratio, which is the 36:24 or 24:36, however you want to look at it, because most people print these types of photographs in a 4:6 frame. That is just typical, okay? You will see some people requesting other file sizes, and then you just provide that for them. So the process for this is similar in Inkscape, except you would be cropping and resizing the document. Next thing I want to show you is how somebody can describe this in their item. So you can see that they mentioned the 16:20, and here are all the ratios that you can print on. Same thing, they provide a 20:30. And you can print into all these different ratios, the 11:13, and they also provide an A2, which can be sized down to an A5 or a 5:7. And the other sizes are available on request. So this is a good way to do it because you're providing not as many files as you would if you were creating every single ratio that you think somebody might want, okay? So you'll still have a little bit of customer service for people to try to understand that. However, it's really, not a huge deal. So yeah, I think that's all I need to cover on digital print sizing. Let me just recap. So we went ahead and we went through the digital aspect print ratio, which you can get off of my website for free. It's a very useful tool for you to have printed out. And then obviously once you get the hang of things, you won't probably need the chart very much anymore. We went through how to resize in Canva very quickly with Canva Pro. And again, I will post that video, midway through, but I'll also put it in the description box for you to learn how to resize in Canva with Canva Pro in the free edition. And we learned how to go ahead and do that in a normal graphic design program. So really the thing you want to focus on is creating the blank artboard, so to speak, for your program, and then adjusting from there for any basic text-based or regular photos, okay? So you have the ability to do that. Let's see. And then how you want to handle it in your Etsy listing. So you want to describe to your customer that you have this large ratio, this large file size that you can compress down into smaller sizes, okay? So you can do that in the description. I also recommend providing kind of like a PDF in your file as well as an additional file that says instructions, and that way you can explain that in the PDF. Then you don't have to worry about, you know, somebody being like, well, I didn't read the description. Well, it's also in the PDF in the file, so you have the ability to read that as well. So really that's all I have for you guys, okay? Hopefully that you got something out of this video. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to drop a comment in the comments box below, or head on over to the Facebook group where we are creating a community of like-minded individuals looking to grow their semi-passive income with digital downloads. And as always, if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. If you got something out of this video, go ahead and click on like and subscribe below, as that does keep me motivated to continue making these videos, so that way you can grow your business and change your life. Hopefully this answered all the questions you guys have, and I will catch you on the next video. Have a great day.